It's the Rangers Journal night.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rangers Journal. It's Friday night, it's 6:30. I'm stealing Andrew's intros and we are going to talk about all things Rangers for the next 45 minutes to 50 minutes or so. We'll kind of treat it like a little bit of a Rangers news show, I think, because we do have a game to have a look towards at the weekend, obviously, but there's been a delay in us talking about the club for a couple of days just due to not having any matches. And Andrew, I mentioned you already. Welcome to the show, pal. Are you okay?
Hi, I'm good, Billy. I'm good. Yourself? You doing well?
No, I'm in a lot of pain. I've been chopping wood the last couple of days because it's getting.
Oh, you make it sound so manly. Look at that. Oh, I was just chopping some wood, as you do.
Honestly, see, whatever this muscle is here in both arms is absolute agony. And also joining us, Dylan. How are you, mate?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Andrew, I'm going to start by plugging your pod that went out last night. The movie pod, first time it happened. How did you find it?
It was great. We could have ended up going on for about nearly 2 hours. We could have gone on for about 4 hours, I think. It was, no, it's great. Love talking about movies and TV. And yeah, it was just great. Everyone chatting and there was some good, it was the Podders top 5 and there was some interesting choices in the top 5s.
Yeah, I think 5 is a lot to go over with a few different podders. But anyway, I'm plugging that for anyone's interested in movies and likes talking about movies. We're doing that now. So I think you were mentioning you're trying to do it once a month. But let's get back to the football. I don't know really where to start, but I want to start with what's annoyed me the most, and that's Dylan, that the VAR review show dropped earlier on, and we got to see hear the audio from the Diamandis sending off up at Dundee. It just infuriates me even more. Have you seen it? And if you have, what did you make of it?
I did. I heard that. I just caught it just before we went live here, and like you said, it makes it even worse. The fact that he's been told on-field review, he's been told that the swipe's negligible. Can't spit it out. You know what I'm trying to say. And there's not even really any contact made. He's been told that in his ear and he says, "Nah, he swipes at his face. I'm sending him off." And it's like, well, they've just told, like, you've got two refs playing with two different rules here for me. It's honestly, it's laughable.
It's another one that we're on the end of, Andrew, that, we try not to cry conspiracy on here, but it does seem like quite a few strange and unexplained decisions. Well, they try to give us an explanation, but have you heard back the audio back? Because the two VAR referees are very clear that there's no... is it brutality? Is that one of the words they use? And there's even not a worry, but there's even debate over whether there's any contact at all.
Correct. That's the thing, and obviously Nick was requesting like a slightly more zoomed in angle. They said, "Look, this is all we got. There's no. I don't even think he strikes his face. There's no real malice." Well, I don't think they used the word malice, but I was kind of paraphrasing a little bit. But they were so clear that this isn't a sending off. They even used terminology to say, like, it's not excessive, it's not, and he just went, "No, for me, that's a sending off." And that's just even more surprising. Fair play to the guys in the VAR room. It's one that they looked at, reviewed, and pretty much said the referee got wrong in a manner of speaking. But it's just absolutely terrible. That's poor. I'm sorry. I don't know if he's just got caught in the heat of the moment and doubling down and sticking with his decision, but I'm sorry, that's poor.
Dylan, all credit to the VAR team, I suppose, on this occasion, because they do point it out. They talk him through it. They even give him, as Andrew says, the terminology. And at the very last minute, we hear, "No, I see a slap." Well, you know what? So on you go. I'll let you come in.
I didn't think. I thought they were maybe swaying it in the VAR and they're like, maybe you should have another look at this. But they're literally coaching them through it. Look, it's no this, it's no this. It doesn't hit any of these categories. We advise you review it. And then even when he's reviewing it, he's saying, give me a better angle, they're still telling him it doesn't meet the criteria. And he just decides that's a red card. And what I'm glad about is it got overturned. But can you imagine it never got overturned? And then that audio came out, it would be an uproar. Do you know what I mean? So just a good job it did go overturned.
Andrew, I don't know. I like the Six Nations. I'm no huge fan of rugby other than that. But I remember, I think it was a game against France last year, and Scotland got a try in the last few seconds, but the referee couldn't confirm the ball had been put down. So if you can't see it for definite, you don't act on it. And I'm afraid Nick Walsh has not seen us. I mean, he thinks he's seen a slap, but the VAR team can't even show him it for definite. He should have used his common sense and rescinded the red. I don't even think it's a yellow, but given a yellow to both players, which then brings up the fact that Holt was already on a yellow and would have been sent off. So sorry I'm ranting about this, but I need to share the anger.
Billy, you've got every right to rant about it. This is one of a string of bizarre decisions this season. It's been absolutely terrible. Again, fair play to the guys in the VR room. Literally, as Dylan said, they were coaching him through it, and they were explaining the rules, and he hasn't seen it. That's the thing, he hasn't seen it. He's looking at an angle where there could be contact, but the person's face is blocking where the hand is, so he can't see it. That is poor. I'm sorry. That is just absolutely terrible. Again, it's a double down for me. He's like, well, I've put out the red, so I'm sticking with it. I think there's enough there. Poor.
Yeah. And Dylan, what do you think can the club do or say anything more than what they have done? And do you possibly think they're doing this through backdoor channels rather than in the public? But I think it maybe needs to be public.
I mean, you can see Clement's reaction after it. He was bemused and he was raging by it, quite rightly so. Even I think Diomande was like, "Who, me?" And the guys are telling him the swipe comes round, he's like, but he's been pushed. So he swipes come like it's a fall around of his hand as he's being pushed. So it's like an actual reaction of his body. In the VAR, they're telling the ref this, and he still just ignores it. I think I would probably keep it backdoor channels just in this situation. Different when they at the cup final we didn't get the penalty. That's different. You have to go all out for that. But again, I would just be having a word in the SFA's ear and saying, look, this is another decision that could have cost us. Look, it didn't, because it was the end of the game. It didn't really matter. But if that's in minute 10, it could have cost us this game. And again, it's your referees, and you've got two of the same person, same job, telling you different things. So I would just have a wee word in their ear, mate, about it. Aye.
Well, I guess that's. I'll move on from it because we knew what that red card was rescinded. We all knew it was a farce. Just watching the game live. So, what more other than ranting about it can I do? What we were looking forward to hearing over the last 24 hours was the European squad update, and the club did come out this afternoon and give us an update on the squad. So obviously we're losing Casemiro and we're losing his name. Come on, help me out here. The Birmingham player now. Dowell. Sorry, mate. So he's so insignificant to me. I've loads of times I forgot his name on a podcast. Kieran Dowell is not in the squad, and noticeably Oscar Cortez comes out of the squad. Dylan, that's telling in itself.
I was surprised he was in the squad. I didn't know till the day that he was actually still in it. I'm a wee bit torn by it. I'm not going to lie. Until I heard the manager's presser the day, I thought Cortez was nearly back and basically on the grass and training. The manager says he's still got a couple of weeks yet before he's back. He doesn't want to put a timestamp on it. But I just think that we've been bringing on like McCausland to see out games and stuff like that. I thought he would have maybe kept Cortez in, brought Enciala, Hadji, and maybe Fernandez in. But I understand because Cortez isn't available. Sorry, not Fernandez, Danilo, Hadji, and Enciala, and took someone else out, maybe Sterling, because I feel like we've got a lot of defenders in there. When they're all fit, they're all coming back to fitness. And if you're adding Enciala and you're looking at Enciala, Proper, Balogun, Tav, Jefty, Yilmaz, Sterling. So I thought, can we maybe take out a Dujon Sterling, because you've got Leon King as well for cover for right back for Tav, and take a chance on Cortez, because I think we're really, really light in attacking options, especially out wide.
Andrew, the injury to Cortez, obviously we were hoping that it was back. We were not told he was training on the grass a couple of weeks back as well, but we have kept in Tom Lawrence and taken him out. So Lawrence obviously looks to be the more coming back first.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Cortez, does it? But don't worry, we only got to pay $4 million for him next season, you know. That's very us. That's very us. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the look of Cortez. I thought he was fantastic. That 5-0 game against against Hearts, absolutely brilliant. You could tell he really had something. But this is the minute appearing to be a situation where he just can't stay fit and doesn't go very long without breaking down again. Is he Matondo in disguise? I don't know. But yeah, no, it does indicate. Obviously, we have heard, I think Danilo is a couple of weeks away, I think it sounds like. And obviously more positive that he's been included in the squad. So obviously there's a bit of an indicator that he is coming back. I guess sad not to see Fernandez in there. It could have been handy. But again, like Dylan says, we're quite heavy on defensive options. And I guess someone like Sterling could be a little bit more versatile and play elsewhere as well. So not anything unexpected tonight. Of course, Hadji in there as well. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm pleased enough. That's probably what I expected with the changes we could have made. It's disappointing you can only make 3. Not that we had loads more options, but Fernandez being in there would have been good as well. But Hadji Andrew on this stage, I think, thrives. And he likes the big games. And if we get a favourable draw, I know we kind of know what the draw is going to be, but if we get a good result in the next round, it could be a springboard to go on a run. Not going to say any more than that, but maybe get another couple of games in Europe. Hadji loves those games.
He does, doesn't he? He does, doesn't he? Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we all remember the Braga game and, Ibrox, baby. It's just different. But we've got to remember as well, obviously Hadji's come through a lot now at the club and he's applied himself brilliantly. He's put a lot of work in and he wants to stay in this team. I do think he'll sign a new contract. I know there was a lot of hoo-ha last season, but the fact that he's managed to basically come back from the dead essentially and cement his place is just absolutely fantastic. Now, we can't forget there were times where he did dip in form and that's why he went out on loan. I know we changed a few managers, but he couldn't even cement a place at other teams as well. But I'm hoping that this form machine's not just a purple patch. I'm hoping that he can produce for us because he could be that guy in that number 10 role that we've not really seen yet. Because sadly, Bajrami, I don't know what's wrong with him at the minute. I don't know if he's injured. But yeah, I'm pleased to see Hadji there. And I never thought I would have said that 6 months ago.
Dylan, what's your opinion on Hadji as the kind of full package?
I'm a big fan of him. I was advocating for him to get back in the squad as soon as we seen what was happening. We were losing games and we were needing that wee bit of creative spark. I was all for getting Hadji back in the squad. And a lot of folk were saying, but he went to Alves and he didn't do anything. And I watched him in, I think it was it the Euros or the World Cup was just past? The Euros? Mm-hmm. And I watched him in that for Romania and he was up and down the left-hand side and I thought, that's not like a player that's struggling for fitness or injury to me. And then he came in, he was playing with the B team, he was ripping it up, scoring half tricks, scoring free kicks. And I thought, get him back in the squad. And I feel like I've sort of been proven right by the manager, if that makes sense in my own head, because he's come in, he's done absolutely brilliant. And I think he can play along the front three, he can play off the left. Under Gerrard, we've seen him play off the right, and his best position is arguably the 10, which he's not really been playing. So he's left-footed, he's right-footed. He gives that wee bit of chaos that creates in there in the final third. And I'm really, really glad that he's included in the Europa squad.
And my opinion on him, Andrew, is you can't have too many good players around the place. I guess you can have too many players for a position, but I don't get the sentiment that he isn't either good enough for us or that he's. I know he's not the paciest, and he's probably lost a bit of that from the injury that he got. But I just think what it gives us as a whole is not something we've got anybody else in the squad. The trickery, I guess you could say Egeman's good with his feet, but he's not creating it in the way that Hadji does, to the same kind of way. But I'm happy to see it. I hope he extends his contract. And I guess I'm not astounded. I don't understand the clamour that people wanted him out the door. I guess he's kind of proven people wrong, hasn't he?
No, he certainly has. I think the thing was around the times that he was in the squad and he wasn't playing too well. Most of the players around him weren't playing too well either. And we seem to have this little bit of this curse, which I swear there is a voodoo doll out there somewhere that somebody's got for injuries and stuff. Because the amount of players that leave this club and then suddenly look phenomenal at other teams, it's just unbelievable. It just shows that there was kind of at times so much wrong with the club, not just the squad, but a lot of other things. And you could see it, like Dylan says, for Romania, he's a fantastic player. And he's not just loved in Romania itself for being the son of, son of Georgi Hagi, but it's also because they do like him there as well. Obviously, he's captain Romania, isn't he? At that young age, and he takes it all on him, and he's such a wise person. Now, I know obviously a lot in the summer, there was some things said, it's possibly to do with agents and stuff like that, but you know what, to come back essentially from the dead, when you're pretty much being out the door from a club, not many players can do that. And he came back, obviously first came back as well, got a red card, still survived that, and he put the work in. And you could see as well, even in that game, one pass, his first pass, put somebody through and goal for a goal. He had a great assist. He does just offer something when you really need it. There's been times where we've been crying out for somebody to just be able to play a nice forward pass. We sometimes try and score the perfect goal. And that's something I've noticed we started to change a little bit now. We are looking up, taking shots a little bit more. We're not trying to score that perfectly worked goal anymore. But Hagi, an integral part, he is now. He's somebody that can link the middle to the front, definitely.
Dylan, the press conferences were today. I guess all we really got was an injury update more than anything else, which is probably what we wanted. So Danilo's set to return to training next week. We have touched on him being in the squad. That probably indicates, I guess we needed him to be in the squad anyway, but indicates he is close to being back. And also Dujon Sterling and Leon Balogun follow the week after. We're getting the guts of the full squad back together again now. And hopefully it's to, I don't know if we're going to retrace anything in the league, but certainly hopefully do something in Europe. What's your thoughts on them players coming back?
I think it's massive, but it's also sounds daft. It's also good that Balogun etc. were injured, because now you see the pathway for NCR to come through. We've had a look at him; he's comfortable on the ball. Still unsure about how he does in 1v1 defending and stuff like that, because he's not really been tested there yet. But them coming back, it can only bolster Rangers as a whole. Hopefully now we've got enough players back where Clermont can rotate when needed, and we can go on a wee run, especially these away games, because they were building up. You win the game. So Tynecastle for me is a big one. With Sterling back, Balogun back, if Danilo's back for that game, I think that's massive.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, the injuries this season, Clermont last season bemoaned the previous manager for the injuries we had in the previous systems, but he's not really done much better, has he?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Obviously, we haven't really, they were looking into what's behind the scenes of the medical team and the way we train and stuff, and we've not heard too much about things, but it can take time. Now, Cortez is probably the best example. We signed somebody that didn't really have a bad injury history, and he's now, can barely ever stay fit. So it's not exactly always the players that we're going after. Maybe some players aren't used to our intensity, because I'm sure our training might be maybe a little bit more intensive than maybe some other teams' training. Maybe that's part of it. But then the other end of the city would be suffering from the same thing. So maybe it isn't that. There's definitely something going on. When it looked like we were getting players back, then we had a bit of an injury crisis again going into the Old Firm game. It was like, it's just a vicious cycle that keeps happening. It looks like we're getting players back now, especially players like Danilo, who, we've only just got him back. We only really have just seen what he can do for us. And frustratingly, he's out again. But I think things will change. I think it takes time, and I really do think it takes time, especially when you've still got players at the club that do break down from injury a bit more. But I think there are positives. I think we're seeing players out not as long now than what we did previously, but it still needs looking at.
Leon King is back in training, Dylan, after coming off obviously quite early on in that Man United game. he's not really had a great. He comes in and gets a couple of games and then he's off injured. It's not really been the best of luck for him. What do you think going forward for him? Do you think he's got a future here?
I think the lad needs to go for his own sake, to be honest with you. When he came on, I think it was the Hibs game. Hibs equalised late. I think it was his man. That can be deflating. But again, I don't know why he's getting matched up with Hibs' best header of the ball. Do you know what I mean? So it was like zonal man marking me done, and it just went all wrong. I think when he came on, when he started that Europa League game, I thought it started very, very bright. He drove forward with the ball, he put a nice pass, he won his tackles, he won his headers. That's when he got his concussion. That the manager said today where he couldn't see, the problem with his eyes. And I think if he'd have maybe carried that game out, you could be saying, well, why have we not tried him at right back? If he continued the way he was going in that game, because he started it really, really well. But it's just unfortunate he got that injury, and I don't think he can be relied on the way that even you can rely on Nsiala. I don't think he's got the same on-the-ball qualities as Nsiala has. So I would imagine that for his own sake, to go and play first-team football and go and try and break out somewhere else.
Do you agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think Dylan's quite spot on there. It's a shame for him because, of course, he's almost a little bit cursed. Not use that word again, but when you come on for your debut against Liverpool when you're 3-1 down and then it just gets worse and worse and worse, that can be so damaging to a player. He has shown some promise. Obviously, I think in the B team, I think they were experimenting with him in midfield, I believe, and some other kind of positions. I'm not sure how 100% accurate that was. I remember reading that a while back. I agree. I think he needs to move on. I think he needs regular game time at a club somewhere, maybe in the Scottish Premiership, maybe down in England, maybe Championship or League One possibly, because he can be a good defender. I just think it's very difficult to get that consistent run of games to develop yourself, especially with the way things are with the B team at the minute.
Dylan, one thing Scotty's asked me to bring up with you is the change in set pieces recently. Obviously, we've scored from a couple of set pieces. What's your thoughts on why it's maybe something's had a wee change there?
To be honest, I've not took a deep dive into it, and I'm under a set piece coach or analyst, but
it's anything you're ready, mate. Just dive into that project for us. That'll be great.
What I did notice is the last game we played there was at Ross County. And I was sitting right in front of it, and Nico Raskins won 2 headers in the middle of the box.
Yeah,
and I was like, how is Nico Raskin winning 2 headers in there amongst Ross County's rugby players? So, just by going with the eye test, I feel like Shooter and the likes of your taller players, your more dangerous players, are taking their dangerous players or their headers of the ball away, and the ball's getting played into an area where Raskin's arriving, and either if he doesn't score with first contact, it's then falling to the back post for the second contact with Shooter. That's one of the goals I noticed, and I thought it was quite well worked how we done it. It was like almost like a screen in basketball, if you know what that is, where the players go one way, the guy sort of stops the runners, and Nico Raskin arrives in the box, and it's almost like a free header, and then Shooter taps it in. So it was a very well worked goal. I don't know if is it coming from the new assistant coach that's in. Because ever since he's come in, it started to look a wee bit, it started to look a wee bit better, especially attacking set plays.
Andrew, we shouldn't really be surprised from smaller players getting headers. Did Messi not score a great goal in the Champions League final with a header one time as well? And he's about 5'2". But the corners we put in recently remind me of the kind of Joe Aribo knock-ons to the back post. I don't know why we stopped doing that. Maybe we didn't seem to do it at all, but Nico Raskin winning that one kind of earlier on in the box, meeting the cross first and knocking it to the back post, and then we get the John Souttar finishes it for there. I like those goals.
I think tactically they're better because they kind of drag people away, don't they? When it goes to the far post, everyone's kind of going one way and then you're putting it back across. Our corners have been woeful for a long time. They really have. I'm not a fan of the outswinger. Don't get me wrong, the outswinger has a place, but of course that's where you can have them kind of knock-ons back into the box from the outswinger. I like the good old-fashioned terrible height ball into the box. It's a nightmare for the keeper, and it comes off someone's backside and goes in. Keep it simple. But yeah, no, it does seem to coincide with the new appointment of Ismail Chari, the Moroccan under-23 manager. I think it was Morocco's under-23 manager. Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Because he was in Ligue 1 with Strasbourg. That was it. You know what? Maybe they've worked on a few things. I know not everything reaps rewards very quickly, but we seem to be just that little bit more organised. I still personally would rather have men on post when we're at the other end, when we're trying to defend corners as well. I think you can't go wrong with that because we seem to... We're not the worst at conceding from corners and things like that, but we're not exactly first to the ball. We need to get a bit quicker. But yeah, there's definitely been an improvement, and there's a few areas where we have improved, notably. So it does look like we're going a little bit in the right direction. We just need to get some consistent form with it now.
Dylan, Andrew talks about the kind of zonal defending and the problems we've had with it. And the problem I've got with zonal defending is you're defending an area, but the attacker has the kind of momentum and leap. I don't know, again, if you're not a set piece, aficionado or anything, you might not have a bit much of an opinion on it, but I don't like zonal at all. And do you know any benefits of it?
No, I don't. If I was a coach, I would never coach it either. I think it's easier just to stay with your man. But like I was talking about, when the Ross County goal, they went man. And then when Suter tried to make the first run, he was blocked. Their man was then blocked off. Raskin arrives in the box and Suter straight at the back post. So that can be the issues with man. But what annoys me about zone defending, it's very easy for them to pass the blame because there's maybe three in front of the goalkeeper. So if the first guy doesn't win it, he'll say, it wasn't in my area, it was your area. And then it causes arguments, and I just absolutely bin it.
Yeah, no, I think that's my thoughts on it as well. I maybe just do a deep dive one day and where Zono came from, and to see when it kind of came into football. Was it not Liverpool back in the 2000s that were kind of known for it? If I'm right,
it would surprise you. Would not surprise you, to be fair.
Also, Andrew, I wanted to talk about Ridvan Yilmaz, easy for me to say, who is now back in training. I think if he had been fit, he'd be somebody we would be looking to have got rid of in the January window. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's a tough one. I think every player has their price, and I think if the reports were correct, I think it was somewhere between 3 and 4 million in total. I think we would have taken that, especially with, again, Yilmaz. He's probably not as injury prone as some of the other players in the squad, but still he does spend periods out the sidelines. I was kind of glad that we didn't, that he didn't leave. Don't get me wrong, the Turkish window, I think, is it only just closed? I think it was a few days longer, wasn't it? He can link up quite well with Jefte out there on the left. You know, one could be more advanced, one could be at left back, either really. I think they do play together quite well. And we have seen Yilmaz covering out on right back as well. So, you know what? Yilmaz, he doesn't always have a good game, but he can put in a performance when you need it. We saw it in the Old Firm game. You know what? Yeah, I'm kind of glad we've got him, to be fair. And it's just me being a typical Rangers fan. We need the money. We've managed to slash the wage bill brilliantly. He's probably a player that's on a pretty decent wage. So, yeah, I think it's handy for now because we're not threadbare, but we just don't have, I think, an abundance of like wing backs.
Dylan, it's not him as a player that have a problem with it. His just that injury record. He gets injured. He got injured really early on in his career, and he's been injured 4 times now for a good number of weeks. I don't know if he's just got a weakness that is going to can reoccurring. Well, we're told he didn't have a bad injury record before he came to us, but as the Rangers curse, he does now. He's been here, so it's not that I wanted him away because of anything he does as a player. But what do you make of him linking up on that left hand side?
I'm like Andrew. I'm a little bit torn between should we have sold him, should we have kept him. I'm probably more for keeping him because I don't think we had another player to go and bring in that can do his job at the moment. So probably keep him just now. Maybe look to move him on in the summer, like Scotty says here. Move him on in the summer. But I think even the deal was like $1 million up front to loan, and then it was like $3 million with an option to buy, which I just want to just take him and give me the money. Do you know what I mean? Don't give me options and £1 million loan fees here and there. So glad we kept him at the end of the day. But I think the only time him and Jeffy should play on the same side for me personally is when we're playing a higher quality of opposition. So like you see me against Tottenham, I wouldn't have mind seeing it against Man United, is to see they two play together. I think that's when it works best. But like I said, the teams that we can get in the Europa League, I wouldn't like to see that match up. I would rather see Hadji, someone with a bit more creativity there. I think, I think Jeffy and Hadji link up better than Yilmaz and Jeffy do. And especially against an opposition that's sort of more Rangers level, I'd like to see a wee bit more going forward from Rangers as opposed to maybe taking it easy and putting two defensive players out there.
Would you say goodbye in the summer, Andrew?
If the price is right.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Again, like Dylan says there, I think it's them bigger games. That's where you kind of you utilize them a bit more, and sadly, we need to. It'd be more domestic for us at the minute. We need to try and start looking at somehow winning a league at some point soon.
Sorry, I was in a mental thought about something else there, Andy. I was listening to you, but
you look like you left a quiche in the oven there.
Yeah,
that's the look.
It's maybe it is that. But anyway, we can move on from Ridvan Yilmaz. I think for me, I would like to move him on in the summer. But no, what sprung to mind was also Cyril Dessers' press conference today, and just the way he talks, Andrew. I really feel for him. He's talking about his agent. Getting phone calls from teams asking why he's not playing when he's got the stats he's got. I guess that's the enigma of him, that he's got a fair amount of goals, but it's what he doesn't do is the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, we all know Dessers now, and we know what he will do. We know what he won't do. If he's got the ball running, bearing down on goal 1-on-1, he's probably not burying it. But then we have seen him do that recently against Aberdeen. Just to you can score them goals against Betis, but not the ones on the line. Again, the enigma. I like him. I like him as a guy. I like his loyalty as well. That's something that you don't see from too many modern footballers as well, and that's quite a nice side. I'd like to keep a hold of Dessers in a capacity. He can't be a starting player. However, at the same time, for the amount of money we paid for him, the cost of wages, he probably does have to move on in the summer if we are going to recoup any money from him. But again, he's a handy player. I wouldn't be disappointed if we did keep a hold of him in a kind of bit part capacity. But that depends if he would do that, because I don't think he enjoys being second fiddle. But then you look at Old Trafford, he comes on really, under the caution, the respect of people have seen him come on and going, oh great, Dessers is coming on, this ain't going to do anything. And then he scores that goal. He takes Maguire out the game and then just smashes it into the bottom corner. And you just, how do you describe Dessers to somebody that doesn't support Rangers or has ever seen him? It is the most difficult thing in the world. He's got talent. He was the Europa Conference's top goal scorer when he was playing there. He's somebody, again, that could be handy for Europe. But again, it all depends on the wage structure, how much you want to get the wage bill down by. I think we've got it down by something like 7.1 million currently, which just shows you the drastic measures we're taking to save money at the minute. So it all comes down to money. And there's a side to it, as I say, I would keep him, but if there's an offer, I think he has to go.
Dylan, that really will be the main thing to think about, isn't it? Money. He will be on decent wages thanks to a previous manager, and he's at an age where we don't have much. I think we talked about it the other night in a podcast, the Transfer Show podcast. I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but there comes a point where that you just have to keep a player because you're not going to recoup money from them. He's on too big a wage, I think, to do that. I think if you're keeping him, you'd need to restructure his wages, which I can't imagine he'd like. I do think he's unhappy not being the main striker. I think that's why he mentions these things in his press conference, that his agent's getting calls. But do you see him staying longer than the summer just because of the fact that the money is probably on?
No. I think, and I'm one of his biggest critics. I think him saying that today in his presser, if he really looks in the mirror, he'll know why he didn't. He stopped playing. He wasn't scoring goals. He couldn't hold the ball up. His passes were going astray. So it's not like anybody else is to blame bar him. If his control of the ball was good and his link-up play was good enough, he would be in the team and he'd be starting every game. So, and Eggman would be trying to put him out his place. So it's partly on him, but I really, really like him as a person. And I don't know him, but I think he's a good character to have about the dressing room. I think he's got very good mentality because he's come on to booze and he's went on and scored goals and he's kept on. He's never really shied away from it. A bit like Hadji, when he was out in the cold, he fought his way back, which I like. It's a good character to have about. But I think if you can get 3 to 4 million, it's 30. I think you sell him. And I think he would want to go as well because, like you said, he wants to be the first choice striker for Rangers. And unfortunately, if you don't have the technical ability, which I don't think he does, goal scoring, there's an argument there, but just technically, sometimes passing, his control, his touch, sometimes it's very, very, it's amateurish. And I think that's where a lot of fans get on his back about. And you can miss chances. We can all miss chances, but it's the simple things that he does, and you're like, what is he offering here? Especially in the goal against Aberdeen is good, but we're already 2-0 up, so it doesn't. There's no pressure on there. If it doesn't score, does it score? So it's doing that in the big games. Again, I don't really think he's caused Celtic much problems when he's played against them. So I would definitely sell him in the summer. I wouldn't take a hit per se, but I think he's proved that he's got enough value by his goals. I think he's one of the top scorers in the league as well. He's still fit enough. He's not injury prone, so that all adds to his value. And I think that if you can get 3 to 4 million for him, absolutely sell him in the summer.
I do agree with that figure wise. I think I'd be happy to get that back from him. He could go on to have another couple of good games in Europa League, and that another couple of million get added onto that, Andrew. But there is a factor that Doug brings up. I guess he doesn't mention it by name, but his goals, replacing these goals, where we face the prospect of losing him and Iggerman in the summer, and they've both been putting the ball in the back of the net of late. So we're under a lot of pressure to replace those goals fundamentally.
Yeah, and our midfield don't contribute enough in that respect either. We do tend to rely on 1 or 2 players. Don't get me wrong, obviously we've seen Czerny really coming in with some goals this year, but at the end of the day, he's potentially not going to be our player next season. This is where I think Nils Koppen and the scouting needs to come in, of course, and I think they will. I think they've probably got a dossier of potential replacements for most players. So far, so good in some respects. I think we're starting to see some of the fruits bearing from the model that we're looking at now. Obviously, highlighting someone like Iggerman, I think, has been absolutely fantastic business, especially when you're seeing his stats being broken down. And, he leads the way in quite a few areas, especially even in Europe as well, with a few things. So, yeah, it's potentially losing Dessers, and if you lose Iggerman as well, then you're relying on Danilo, who potentially hopefully is over his main injury issues now. It does seem that his main issue is he's recovered from, but of course he still picks up niggles like a few of the other players. So yeah, it's Dessers, like it says there, Stuart Allison's comment there, Dessers is always fit. There's not many players in our team that we can go, you know what, like Tav and Dessers, always fit, always available. We don't have too many players like that, do we?
No, well, we move on for Dessers as well. Dylan, there was a transfer window shut this week for us. We've obviously done a marathon show on it, so you don't need to go into too many details of ins and outs, but were you disappointed, or were you relatively unscathed, or were you just not surprised about the way we ended it?
disappointed as a fan, but I can understand the business being done. I think it's good to see that we were at least in the hunt for another winger, even though it didn't come through. The board and Niels Cotton were still active in that area, and I think if the other team had a replacement lined up, they would have gave us him, whoever it was. I don't know, I've not found that out. But so that was good. But I think bringing a defender of that profile, young, athletic, was a good piece of business on loan as well with an option. I like that, but I would have loved to get someone else in, another winger, for at least 6 months, just to see that could be the difference. Because, like you say, we are very, very injury prone, and you look at what happened. We don't want to bring it up, but the last time we done well in Europe, and we had Scott Wright playing at right wing, Jory Bo up front because we had no strikers. So if we do go far in it, I would like to have some more backup there for that. But I can understand why we missed out as well.
Andrew, what was your thoughts on this, the winter transfer window?
Well, like Dylan says, a winger would have been ideal, and it sounds like we were looking at, I think it was Manchester United's winger, Forson. I think that's kind of come out with the ex-Man U winger, and there was somebody else as well, but unfortunately, we just weren't going to pay over the odds. So again, years gone by, I'd have been raging, but I could understand it, and you can understand it. You know, we have got to stop paying wages and paying fees like we are the winners of the league, because we're not. There seems to be a mentality around the club. You pay the players like they're champions, and they'll feel like champions. It shows you how much of a big of a task it is, and obviously none of that's worked at all. It would have been nice to have seen a bit more action. I think the Cameron deal was, I think, held off being announced until then, just to give everyone something on deadline day.
Oh, you cynic.
Don't get me wrong, they were looking at options, but I think even they knew in the back of their minds, unless they can get something, because I think one of the phrases that was used was, if the right player comes up at the right fee, then obviously they'll go for it. But January window is not always the best. Yes, it's been the most expensive January window ever. I think Man City are the top of the table for that. So FFP will be interesting with them and that, how they sort that out. But yeah, it would be nice to have seen a couple of players. But then you've also got a team the other end of the city that was moaning about their January activity as well, because they didn't do a hell of a lot. Obviously, they did something, but I think a few clubs are quite disappointed. So yeah, we're not the only ones.
Lyle Cameron, you mentioned him there. Andrew, thank you for reminding me of him. But the manager did mention that we'd tried to get him last season, I believe, in today's press conference. I hope I picked it up right. But he was one that stood out for me, and I'm fairly happy we've picked him up. Look, we do have a game the weekend. I think it's 3:30 kickoff, annoyingly, against Queen's Park. A team that I know nothing more than they used to play at Hampden, and now they play at the park next to Hampden. Dylan, are you going to be going to the game?
I would be going for it. I've got my ticket, but my wee girl informed me that it's her best friend's birthday party, so I need to attend that with her. They're only 3 and 4, so I don't want to break her heart, and I hope Rangers doesn't break mine. But no, I'll not be there, mate. But hopefully I'll catch it on my phone or somewhere to watch it. Fingers crossed.
What do you expect, Dylan, team-wise? If you're like me, I think the youth, Column youth, did beat them recently.
Yeah,
yeah. So
I think it was, yeah.
You could say that, or you could just play that same team. I doubt we'd do that, but do you expect it to be kind of heavily youth-laden?
That's what I would like to see, personally. I would like to see the Ninciala and the new centre-half just start and go and give them the freedom. I'd like to see Curtis, Bailey, Rice involved. But no, I don't think he will. I think he'll keep the players' legs going as well, because they're so used to playing midweek, weekend. I think you maybe see Bailey Rice come in for Raskin, because he's done a lot recently. He'll maybe get a half a rest, and then I would maybe swap him with Diamandi, so the two at least get 45. I think you'll see Tav at right back. Ninciala will play, I'd imagine, and then whether it's Suter or Proper beside him. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing the new boy there. Jeff at left back. I think hopefully Curtis starts, because I don't see why he shouldn't. But I think it'll be Cherny, Hadji, Igaman, and Bajrami. I think he'll go strong, and then if we go 2 up, whatever, he'll bring on the kids.
Is that same for you, Andrew? Do you see similar?
I do. Earlier in the season, despite some of the chat, I don't think we would have seen any youngsters at all, even in a game like this, just because of the way things had been. But I think now that we are having to delve into the youth ranks by necessity more than choice, I think that will be a good thing. That'll be a bit of a blessing in disguise. Obviously, we saw at Old Trafford, you would never have thought that we would have brought out the young guns for that game, but we had to. It was necessity, and you know what? They held their own, and they did. They do deserve a shout. So I'm hoping that maybe we might see a couple start, but as Dylan says, I think it's going to be strong attackers. I think they're going to make sure the game's wrapped up first. But yeah, I wouldn't have any issues with the young guns. A few of them playing this game. Obviously not a completely different side, but you know what? Maybe 3 or 4 in there, 100%, definitely.
Do you see Butland starting?
I think he needs a bit of time out. Personally, I think when I was a goalkeeper myself, not at any level or anything, but when you're going through a bad time, it just seems to be continuous. You can't do anything right. And I think you do need that bit of time out to kind of take stock and to kind of almost recalibrate yourself a bit and then come back in. Obviously, he's got a newborn, so things at home will be a little bit, different to usual. And yeah, you know what, give it to Liam Kelly. There's no harm in that, and especially from the performance we saw from Liam Kelly when we saw him last couple of times we saw him. Not a bad keeper, and you know what, in the cup, I wouldn't have any issues at all.
It did seem to be the done thing, Dylan, that you'd play the second string goalkeeper for the cup until the final, obviously, when you don't want to chance that. But do you see Kelly starting at the weekend?
I think so, yeah. When Butland was out injured just recently, and we played, who did we play in the cup? Fraserburgh. We seen Mason Munn come in, and Kelly was starting at that point. So I think he will rotate it to give Kelly game time. And I think it's probably right. I think Kelly's more than experienced to go into that game and walk through it with his eyes closed. So he's played enough games, and I've absolutely no objection to him coming in. And he probably deserves it as well. I think Butland's form's been a wee bit all over the place, and like Andrew said, a wee race is maybe just take him out the fire line a wee bit. But if I was on the other side, if I was Queen's Park, I would be, and I seen Kelly was starting, I'd be looking to shell balls in and top him all night, and long throws and free kicks, and so that's it. That's the other side of the coin.
Andrew, I quite liked Bailey Rice's performance in that Ross County game, and I wouldn't be an objection to him starting. His career, he really wants to push on now, doesn't he? He's been given a few chances to impress, and he has for me. What about yourself?
I agree. I was on a pod with Scotty a couple of years back, and we were talking about Bailey Rice, and he needs, again, this is where we do seem to fail some of our youngsters. Now, I understand that you've always got to generally field your strongest side, but there needs to be an avenue, and the young guys need to see the avenue. When you see a player like Bailey Rice, where if you're another young gun and you've been, training alongside him and playing in the BT with him, you can see that there is a route through. He deserves his chance. He's not really put a foot wrong. You can see he's a strong player. You can see, obviously, he's not fully there yet. But this is the type of game where you can learn, and I would totally, yeah. I've not told him about the private one, Scotty. Don't worry, mate. Don't worry. But yeah, no, he's done. This is where maybe the January transfer window, not being as active, might actually be a blessing in disguise, because it can help us to really maybe see some of these guys come through, and hopefully some of them might be ready for next season.
Fair enough, guys. Well, look, we've been going for nearly 50 minutes now, so I'll come round the horn again just to say thank you. But please bring up anything that you maybe wanted to mention that we haven't so far. Dylan, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
No problem at all, guys. Just to touch on it, just to plug it, we've actually got a tactical breakdown of our Europa League sort of adventure coming out shortly, within the next day or two. Me and Dave's done it. We've broke down a couple of goals we conceded and a couple of goals that we've scored, and just different sort of passes of play that come on and Rangers have done. So if you want to stick around, you'll see that the next day or two.
That's great, mate. Thanks for doing that. It'll be great to see. I'll look out for it. Andrew, thank you again for coming on, mate.
No, anytime, Billy, anytime.
And thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for all the comments we get. And I'm sorry if I couldn't address all of them, but yeah, just leaves me to say every night is Rangers Journal night, and hope your team wins at the weekend. Thanks.